Tag TV, and Tag Radio. Technology now has a voice of innovation and information. Get it on www.tagtvonline.com. Interactive entertainment, more than an emerging new market, one of the hottest, rapidly growing sectors of the entire technology industry. Artists, programmers, designers, writers, teachers, business executives, venture capitalists, and government officials keyed to this next big thing in economic development. This is your invitation to join the Siege of Atlanta. That's right. In just a few weeks, October 3rd through October 5th, it's the second annual Southern Interactive Entertainment and Game Expo, Siege 2008. The most exciting and dynamic expo focused on the game design industry in the South, and it's right here in Atlanta, what experts are now calling the Digitainment Center of the new media world. Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, September 23rd, 2008, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. Interactive entertainment. Once a niche market and little more than a curiosity, the computer and video game industry took in about $9.5 billion in the U.S. alone in 2007. Georgia's film, video, and music industries are all the buzz as they not only lead the nation and the world in their own vertical industries, but are now rapidly taking the lead in unifying their talents and resources on this emerging global marketplace for gamers. Up to the Tech Talk on interactive entertainment is gaming pioneer, co-founder, and president of the Georgia Game Developers Association and the organizer, producer, and vision behind Siege, the first digital entertainment trade show in the Southeast, Clinton A. Lowe. CEO of C. Allen Lowe & Associates, executive production and venture catalyst specializing in digital entertainment, Clinton is an serial entrepreneur, holding equity positions, top senior management, and consulting roles in several Georgia-based gaming engineering and e-media startups. A close and respected advisor to government, academia, and corporate leaders on innovation and economic opportunities for this rapidly expanding industry, Clinton is a member of the state's Committee on Entertainment Capital Investment and Legislation and serves as task force member and chairs on several digital entertainment committees, as well as an industry advisor to top academic institutions pioneering education and training in the digital media industry. Siege 2008, the Southern Interactive Entertainment and Game Expo. Tino Tech Talks with its co-founder and Georgia game industry pioneer on the Siege of Atlanta with Georgia Game Developer Association President Clinton A. Lowe.
Clinton, thank you for joining me on Tech Talk.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here today.
Well, Siege is not a new name. It's been around now for a couple of years. But tell me a little bit more about the event and the purpose behind the event.
Great. Siege really started around 2005 in its formation with the creation of the Georgia Game Developers Association. As a trade association, trade show was the next step for us. But it really all came together in 2007 with our first show. In October of last year, we drew out a very nice initial crowd, a number of sponsors, and really had a great show. We've had terrific feedback. In fact, recently had a piece of unsolicited commentary that we had the best parties available in the game industry.
Very good.
So that was very nice.
And Frank Baez said what the date was here, but tell us the date again and where the event's going to take place?
It's October 3rd through 5th at the Hyatt Regency Suites in Marietta. It's just outside the perimeter of Atlanta, but it's still Metro Atlanta.
Right. Well, and who should attend this? I understand that you have people that already have registered from around the USA, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's right. It's really an open event to anyone curious about the video game industry and the digital entertainment interactive industry at large. This includes students, teachers, professionals. It includes economic development, department leaders, just about anyone who would be curious on the subject. Another area that's really growing right now is what we call serious games, and this is the use of game technology in other business forms, whether it be training, simulation, or any other use for business automation.
So what will the program actually look like? What can attendees expect to see when they arrive?
Well, we have a lot of exciting sessions. We have world-class presenters on panels and individual presentations. I believe there will be in the number of 60, somewhere around 60 presenters and speakers. Some of those include the Entertainment Software Association, Savannah College of Art and Design. We have, I believe, 10 other colleges involved, like the DeVry University and Art Institute of Atlanta. Then we also have a number of studios, like High Res Studios. I believe Knievel will be presenting. CCP, who is one of our platinum sponsors, will have a great presentation. So there's a number of groups that will be presenting. And in addition to those sessions, we're going to have a number of parties where people can mix and mingle and really get to know each other. They happen through what we call the suite crawl, and you can just wander through the various hotel suites and meet the companies, meet the individual professionals, and really get face-to-face. Another exciting thing that we're doing this year is a concert from Bit Brigade. This is a new band that's formed just recently over the past few years. The exciting thing about Bit Brigade is that they integrate video game technology right into their band. One of their instrumentalists, I'll call him, actually plays a video game controller. So as the band and the remaining musicians play their instruments, he's playing a game controller. It's all synchronized, and it's a really good show.
Well, I know a lot of our listeners will be, after hearing this conversation with you, will be interested in attending. Let's take more of a macro look on this whole topic in respect to the gaming industry, both here and around the U.S. It's rapidly changing, I know, but talk a little bit about that.
It is. The state of Georgia has amassed what might be considered a sleeper army in the game industry, and it kind of fits the name Siege because we're about to take over a nice chunk of the industry for the Southeast. The video game industry has typically evolved in the United States out on the West Coast, perhaps due in large part to working with film assets and intellectual properties, but also expanding into Austin, Texas. Those are the two major centers for video games at the moment. And in the Southeast, Atlanta is going to be the hub. Also, our Canadian friends have a lot of experience in video games, and they're Vancouver, Toronto, Quebec, and just recently met with Manitoba. They all have centers of excellence up there for the video game development industry. So in the North American region, there's a lot of activity. The numbers that were stated just earlier, the $9.5 billion, I believe is a number that comes from the Entertainment Software Association, and that is retail market games. That does not really include the serious games sector that we've talked about, the millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars being invested by the Army and by medical technologists that are trying to use game technology to visualize perhaps DNA sequencing, etc. Just a lot of exciting things going on. Also, the casino industry, which gets overlooked quite often, has, again, about $8 billion from software machines such as slot machines, Keno, bingo, poker, all of that. So the entertainment software industry is really a large industry by any measure, globally reaching about $50 billion.
Well, and as you mentioned, it even goes beyond entertainment and into all sorts of industries that people might not think about as they're thinking about gaming or the game industry or even the entertainment industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I had read somewhere we do the State of the Industry report, and as part of that report, we looked at what countries hold the lead in various industries. And is China up there on top still? And where does the U.S. fall in respect to the overall industry of gaming?
Well, the United States, with the creation of intellectual property, I think is still the lead.
Okay.
And that is primarily due to our creativity. A lot due to the film industry. I know that many people say, and it is true, that the video game industry took in more revenue than the film industry beginning in about 2004 and has kept that up and is outgrowing the pace of the film industry. But that's not to say that we're in competition. It's really about intellectual property creation. The creativity that we have here in the United States is just unparalleled in other countries. So we have a distinct advantage there.
Now, you had talked about various segments of the population that and businesses that get involved in the area of gaming and simulation. We had attended, one of our societies had hosted an event around multiplayer games. So if you think about the gaming industry and the number of people that are coming online to play and participate in that, how fast is that growing?
It's phenomenal. And from every aspect, games are really pervasive. So whether it be online with people playing in massively multiplayer online games like EVE Online from CCP North America, or if they're playing in cell phone games produced by Blue Heat here in Atlanta, it could be that, even my mother, who I pick on for playing solitaire electronically, she used to play, cards just sitting on the floor. Now she's playing on her laptop. So video games are really pervasive. In fact, I'll make one other mention. About 4 years ago, was talking to my wife as we were waiting for dinner, and I said, they really need to put a video game inside of this pager that I'm holding, waiting on my dinner table. And it wasn't but a few years after that I actually had, I can't remember the restaurant at the moment, but they actually passed me a pager that had a video game in it. I thought that was great. That
is great. And so Georgia is, I think there's been a new law passed in the last year that's going to position Georgia as the place to go to develop your games. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's right. There's new tax legislation that makes it very lucrative for studios to choose, or for publishers to choose Georgia as a place to produce their next project. The tax incentives retroactive to January 1st, 2008, provide a base tax incentive of 20% on projects over $500,000 investment and require Georgia labor. Also, there's a 10% upkick if the state of Georgia accepts the project for that uptick. The project has to place a very small, I think it's a 15-second trailer at the beginning of the project to show the state of Georgia's logo and a small message. But that's an extra 10%. So with a 30% tax credit on just $1 million budget, that $300,000 back can either be sold and given back as cash to the investors, which pretty much gives them that initial return, a nice security blanket, or it can be used to reinvest in the project and do it a little bit better, a little bit bigger than they would have ordinarily.
And that's one of the most aggressive, or the most aggressive tax legislation in the nation at this point?
It is. To my knowledge, as it rates in film industry, it puts us competitively up around the top 5. But as it relates to the video game industry, I believe it puts us at number 1, because I'm not aware at the moment of any other state offering specific video game-related tax incentives.
Well, that's great. Well, before we wrap up, let's hit them one more time with the date and the place for this event, and also your website where they can find out more information.
Great. It's October 3rd through 5th at the Hyatt Regency Suites in Marietta, Georgia. And the website is www.siegecon.net. That's SIEGECON.net.
Well, Clinton, thank you for joining me on Tech Talk, and best of luck with the event.
Thank you for having me.